Greetings, greetings, friends. Welcome to this Thursday edition of the Mystery Wine Blind Tasting via Field and Main, aka also my living room. So, we're here tonight with a little red that I hope you have in your glass, as I'm just now pouring it in mine. If you are, please chime in and let me know that you're here. And we'll continue with this evening's experience of trying to figure out what's in this glass. It's got a little bit of a deep color. I almost don't know quite to do with myself this evening as we are fully lit outside with the beauty of spring almost approaching. Forsythia are up and things of that sort. It's light out still, and normally it's dark out. So I was surprised. I set an alarm for myself to be on this chat and almost missed it because it was still light outside. I didn't believe it. Matt Fitzsimmons, hello for 2 days in a row. Matt was with us this evening last night at our wine event, our wine dinner, which was spectacular. We had Nate Walsh from Walsh Family Wines and Jake Bushing from Jake Bushing Wines from their respective spots in Virginia, all at Field and Main last night to discuss and talk about three particular varietals that they grow, Sauvignon Blanc and Cabernet Franc and Tannat. And then we also had a few other wines from them around dinner. It was spectacular. Oh, it was great. So the Sanders are here tonight too. That's wonderful. Thank you guys. And Taylor too. Hello to you. Bobbin and Dean, good evening. Great to see you and have you with us, I should say. The Kestenbaums too. Oh, wonderful. And Charles, hello, sir, to you. Mary's in Hamilton, Virginia. Fantastic having you with us as well. I'm so glad so many are here. Missy Ring, friend of Matt Kestenbaum. That's fantastic. Great to have you here. This is something unique. Trish, Andy, and Kathy. Well, spectacular. We have the full crew, which makes for a great Thursday night. So, Greg, welcome. Delighted you're here with us too. That's fantastic. Thank you very much for joining in. This has got a real pronounced nose. Candy, Kathy, and Kevin from Warrenton, which is where I am this evening. Welcome. Natalie and the Kabutskis are in Pennsylvania. Oh, very cool. You might be the furthest afield for this group tonight, but we've been all around the world, which is spectacular, and we appreciate, as you've done this evening, taking us with you. So, yes, Johnny's kind of bringing us back here. Sanders, I should say. Kristen perhaps is making that comment. But yes, let's take a look at this wine. As you're looking at it, I was remarking already on the smell, and that's simply because it just popped out of the glass. I poured it, and you could already smell it. And so that's an expressive wine, which makes for a dynamic tasting, and especially one that gives you a lot of information by way of the nose. But before we get there, we're going to do the visual experience, of course, too, which is what Johnny is noting, and Greg, you're throwing out for sure that there are legs there. So, all right, what you're looking for when you're looking for something, right, in the wine is, first and foremost, you know something about this wine that is very obvious. It's red, so it's going to come from a red-skinned grape, which helps you tremendously weed out a whole bunch of other grapes. So we know that. Anything kind of floating in it, any kind of sediment, anything sparkling happening in the wine, in the glass, not particularly, right? So we're looking at probably a still wine, maybe a fortified wine. We don't know that for sure yet, but we're going to get close to that. So as you swirl, you are seeing kind of the rim created for the top edge of where your wine swirled in your glass. And then as that ridge forms, it will spire down in the form of some tears. And do those tears form and hold legs? That's the question you want to ask yourself. And as mine swirled around, the tears moved relatively quickly. Although the remaining kind of tears are moving slowly now. But they're forming a pretty substantial and very defined leg. That is an indication that there's a little viscosity in this wine. And that viscosity comes from texture, and the texture can be derived from some form of the fermentation process, either a little residual sugar that might be left over or added, so something sweet. Think of trying to pour maple syrup. It's thick, runs slowly, and stays formed. Or something perhaps of higher alcohol. So if you swirl vodka in a glass, it does leave an imprint more than say water. So it has more alcohol in it, and then as a result, you'll have more of an impression with those tears and legs. And so we're going to get some kind of indication of ripeness, because ripeness is where you're going to get that sugar, which either makes for residual sugar or alcohol. So this has a degree of ripeness just by way of what we're seeing from the tears, from that deep red, almost power color that Dean and Robin are putting out here for us. Yes, we've got a pretty monolithic color, right? Maybe a tiny bit of variation at the rim with a little bit of watery meniscus. That meniscus is the rim outside the edge of the glass as you tilt your glass. And that watery kind of lighter hue on the outside of this is an indication perhaps of some higher alcohol. So we're looking at something that might be a little bit richer, a little bit more bold, a little bit rounder, and have a little bit more warm climate expression. And so if we thought, gosh, you know what, this is like right off the bat, I'm going to guess cool climate German Pinot Noir, I think we would be on the wrong track. But if we're saying something like, oh, I don't know, a Grenache type wine from the southern part of France, you know, close to the Mediterranean, a little bit warmer, that's a better call. And I'm not necessarily biasing us one way or another there at this point, but that's kind of what the thought process is. Kathy, you're getting super dark garnet. Greg, yes, I think alcohol for sure. So as I smell the wine, Candy, you're picking up a little bit of light brown, huh? Oh, cool, on the rim. So maybe a little bit of a light brown or tawnying color kind of around the outside would indicate, especially if it's different from the interior, and indicate perhaps a little bit of aging. A wine that has a touch of age to it. For me, it looks more like it's consistent, maybe a little bit, but I am not over white. I can gather some white here. That helps. If you have a little white background to look at it, it definitely helps to not skew your impression. Yeah, I can see some of that. There is a little bit of a tawny element around the rim, along with that watery meniscus. Mix of earth and fruit on the nose from Dean. Thank you. Yes. What else are you guys smelling? We're always looking for a few things: fruit, earth, and wood. And so, from the fruit side, you're getting a little bit of that fruit. What's the character of that fruit? Is it fresh fruit? Is it ripe fruit? Really ripe fruit? Is it raisiny fruit? Is it cooked fruit? Is it maybe jammy fruit? Is it medicinal fruit? What character is the fruit? And that can also tip the hand toward what kind of expression you might be seeing by way of place. So a warmer place might result in raisiny profile of fruit, whereas a cooler place might be a little bit tart or underripe. Greg, you're picking up raspberry, cherry, and cranberry. Great. On the fruit side, yes. And I get some of that. Yeah, there's all kinds of fresh into almost ripe. There's even like an ocean spray cranberry juice cocktail element for me. There's a little bit of an earthiness for sure too, Sarah. I'm with you there. The earthiness is presenting. Is anybody else kind of getting? And I'm trying to pin it. There's an olive quality, like a black olive pit, Kalamata olive, in fact, pit. Johnny, you're saying you smell gasoline because someone went to pick up the wine in a fun car. I'm not sure what that exactly means, but that could be fun. So there's a little bit of gasoline smell. Petrol, which is often a descriptor you pick up on white wines and Riesling in particular, but not necessarily here. But you could get, so for example, I should back up. Yeah, petrol. Let's not discount that fully. Petrol might be something you pick up, especially petroleum or rubber and burnt rubber in some cases, if you're peeling out in that car, with Pinotage in South Africa, for example. Candy, I agree. The nose is insane. Raisiny fruit for you. Yeah, I'm with you there. It's like cranberry juice cocktail. There's raisiny elements. There's fresh raspberries. There's that olive note. And that olive note is something that typically you might find, say, in the Rhone Valley in Syrah, or in Syrah in general. Plum. Greg, you picking that up too? A lot, just tons of descriptors, right? So it's very expressive, very aromatic. There's a little bit of so fruit and earth, that sort of earthy notes we're picking up, and there's a little bit of wood presenting in the way of spice. I heard a great description of what wood does to wine last night from Jake Bushing. Matt, you'll back me up from this one. Jake talked a lot about carbon, the experience of carbon and carbonization, and the carbonization of the wood after it's been charred. So an oak barrel has a series of staves that are put together by the rings that are around the barrel. And as a barrel's just being formed, before the ends are put on, it gets put over a fire, a literal fire, and the fire toasts the interior of the barrel. And depending on the barrel maker, each barrel maker has their light toast, medium toast, heavy toast. But as the wood chars, you caramelize the natural sugars that are in the wood, and you get a carbon quality to it. A charcoal-like element, and that can have aroma and taste that are flavors that kind of result in the wine. And sometimes that's like cocoa, sometimes that's coffee or mocha, and I'm getting a little bit of that right now. So I think there's a hint of perhaps some wood here too. Four-berry jam. I love the specificity this wine is providing us. Four-berry jam, cranberry juice cocktail. This is great. So fully expressive, a wine that you could probably guess is got some texture and some power by way of the appearance and the alcohol from the tears and the legs. We've got an intense aroma. We've got deep flavors that are medium to kind of the bolder end of the spectrum. We're not talking about tons of just black fruit, but we have red fruit and blue fruits and kind of expressive, deep, rich flavors. And so, yeah, this is a wine that's medium plus body. We haven't tasted it yet, right? But that's what I'm expecting, and a warmer climate. So, Matt, presuming you've tasted the wine, then it's got some tannin, perhaps drying out from that. So let's try the wine. And again, we're going to look for a few things in the way of the actual flavor of the wine on the palate, but we're going to also look first and foremost for what it tastes like. So where's the acidity level at? Where's the tannin level at? Is it robust? Is it light, medium? So let's give it a try. Bill Hatch, hey. And as Natalie's noting that Julia said it's New World, looking for your impressions on that too. I was thinking about the Old World myself, by way of some of those secondary characteristics that are complex, but I'm not positive. Lots of tannin, but not in a bad way, Dean says. Yeah, the tannin's there. It's not huge, but it's fine and kind of powdery. Alcohol's prominent, well-ripened fruit. Thank you, Greg, for that note. Yes, I agree. Where does the wine hit you on your palate? Where does it stay? Medium to medium plus tannins. A wine that's pretty expressive. It has acidity that's relatively high, right? If you're thinking about it, I'm still salivating. It's at least medium plus acidity. The tannins are balanced by the fruitiness, which I think is a great point, Natalie. Thank you for that very much. Because there's points at which a youthful wine will have just a really dominant kind of tannic expression, but not necessarily reflect a balance in the wine yet. It will take some time. It'll take some oxygenation. It'll take some aging to help the wine reach that balance point. This is already kind of there. It certainly can age for a longer period of time, and the tannins are lovely. That olivey note, that raisin quality that we picked up on, is that what you're finding on the palate too? So Johnny, you're seeing quite an advanced quality of the wine relative to 45 minutes in the decanter and 15 minutes in the glass. So you've got about an hour of opening, which is nice. At 15 minutes here, I think in the next 5, this will change again per kind of our stock and trade with respect to these wines. At 20 minutes, they begin to change more, especially with swirling and continual evaluation of the wine. Sarah, I like this thought of a South American Malbec. So we have New World already thrown out. I might be considering something Old World. Malbec from South Africa is an option. Um, to can about 3 hours ago. Wow. Okay, Dean. So you're saying it's pretty consistent. So it's holding up. That's really nice. The Malbec. Okay, let's build this profile. Cabernet Sauvignon, Malbec. We're on the bigger side of the spectrum. We're on the side of the spectrum of grapes, red grapes, that have thicker skins in a riper context would give you more expression. So Malbec, Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah I threw out. Grenache I even said in the beginning without really kind of knowing where we would head, but we can throw Grenache out, for example. What else? Something maybe Italian. There's like a cinnamon candy element coming through. So there's something with wood. Tempranillo, maybe? You can throw Tempranillo out there. Zinfandel and Primitivo. I like that very much. Thank you, Greg. Yes. Nero d'Avola, something like that from southern Italy. That would be Sicily, or points further south. And Primitivo could be from Puglia, from Campania. We're talking about Zinfandel itself, maybe from California. South Africa, South American. South Africa, we threw out Pinotage. Could be a blend with Pinotage, perhaps. Pinotage is Sanso and Pinot Noir as a cross, but it could have a little bit of Merlot or Syrah to it there. We could consider, I guess, Syrah or Shiraz from Australia. Some of that ripeness. I don't think that's the profile here, but it's something to consider. So we're kind of all over the world. We're not yet in the old or the new. Greg, you're right to kind of steer us toward acidity, and something with a little bit more acidity, generally speaking, comes from the old world rather than the new world. So this has a pretty high acidity, right? We had a medium plus acidity, but try it again. Let's see and suss that out. Sangiovese, we could consider Sangiovese on the richer side of things. I think it has more structure than a typical Sangiovese, and it has a flavor profile that's less about cherry than it is about more the plum, kind of the raspberry, the cranberry. I think so. That would steer me from Sangiovese, but it also, one of the kind of quick tells you can try to put it together with Sangiovese is if the light cast through the wine sort of reflects orangish, it might be Sangiovese, and this is coming out a little bit more red or pink. It's a great example of a wine that has an interplay of tannin and acid, and they oftentimes play in a similar way on the palate, one confusing the other, or, quite frankly, also exemplifying and amplifying the qualities of each other. And so I think the acid here is pushing the tannin up a little bit, and I think the tannin makes the acidity experience linger. Nebbiolo. Yeah, we could certainly consider Nebbiolo. I think it wouldn't have. One of the things you can look for in Nebbiolo, or look for to determine that's not Nebbiolo, is there any kind of greenness? Is there any pyrazine note? And maybe I'm just trying to find that note, but this could be like a Langhe Nebbiolo, right? Something that has that ripeness and the tannin expression from it, something coming from the larger appellation in the Piedmont. So yeah, Nebbiolo I think could live there. It would have seen a good dollop of oak. Carmenere, Becca, nice there. Carmenere, I think we'd see a lot more pyrazine elements. And I'm not picking that up here, but Carmenere could be coming from South America too. Barbera, very interesting idea there too. The tannic experience that many of you are finding might be a bit much for a call for Barbera, but we have a riper kind of expression, maybe Dolcetto. So, are we tasting South American Malbec? Let's start to kind of work our way through some of these things. The Malbec, does it give you a blue fruit kind of sensation? There was a little bit of plum, but kind of blueberry, floral element, and that really ripe characteristic of fruit. Not as much. I think the acidity and some of the red fruit, cranberry, raspberry element would lead me away from a general Malbec call. Uh, the structure is in keeping, but I think it's also a little bit finer than some of the structure. If we were tasting a youthful Malbec that had tannin structure, I don't know that this would be an example of that. Okay, so California Cabernet Sauvignon from South America. I'm not picking up any of that kind of pyrazine note, the note of some kind of pepper, and it could be white pepper, black pepper. I am getting some structure, but the structure and the acidity seems a little bit more refined. So if it's Cabernet in a place that's a little bit cooler. It's not quite just ripe. Man, now I should backtrack a touch. Is anybody smelling something greenish? Maybe it's power suggestion, but there's a hint of kind of stewed bell pepper coming out now. Bill, yeah, Shiraz is definitely something to consider. But it's less Shiraz Australia and more Shiraz maybe South Africa, but it's got this maybe Australia. Interesting. Petit Verdot. It has structure for sure, and it has some of that red and blue fruit. I've tasted Petit Verdot. That certainly would fit in this category. That's not a bad call. I'm trying to place the non-fruit character in this wine, which is kind of drawing me back to somewhere European. There's an earthen element now. There's a sharpness. Yeah, Bill, I agree with you on that. Hmm. So for those of you that are here, weigh in. Are you leaning old world, leaning new world? Where do you put this? Johnny, Tempranillo is not a bad thought to me. Pinotage, I could get behind an argument there. Petite Syrah, interesting, very cool. Um, just tasted a very interesting Petite Syrah from Bob Foley the other day. One of the very well accomplished producers of a series of great red wines throughout California and in mountain fruit in particular. Old World for the Sanders, Old World for Sylvia Miller. Man, I think I'm going to be stumped on this one. Old World for you guys, or Fran, sorry. Old World. I think that's where I'm headed. But sometimes we just know, for example, that this tastes Italian or this tastes Spanish or this tastes French. I'm not getting a clear signature of that here, which would then lead me to believe, all right, well, maybe we're talking about southern France, kind of Spain could be in the running there. I don't think this is Portugal. Some element of a riper Italian expression, but not fully so. So, wow. Dean and Bobbin are going for a Syrah variant. I like that. So this is like medium plus body, right? It's not heavy, but it has some weight. It's got some of that red fruit. It has that olivey note. It has an acidity that's just consistent, and the tannins are there. So I like the Syrah idea. I could get behind Syrah on this. Uh, hmm. Kind of running through the other options that we've talked about. So elevated cool site I like that thought. Yeah, it's got some like so maybe we're talking about something like Crozes Hermitage, um, Northern Rhone, Syrah. That would be an expression that way. Cabernet Franc, it could be. I'm again that pyrazine note just poked its head out for me. The sort of like Italian stewed onions and bell peppers kind of idea just made its way out. And there's wood there, so we would see some perhaps. There's that wooden signature that also leads me back maybe to Tempranillo. So maybe we're drinking some kind of Rioja, which would have a wood element really expressive that way. Some of these other notes that we're picking up for sure. I think that would, like that southern France, northern Spain kind of quality, a Crianza kind of level, Rioja, Tempranillo. It's not old, but has an older advanced kind of profile, which a lot of Rioja will before they release it. And so maybe 3 to 5 years old, 2019 kind of Rioja. I think that's where I'm going to head. So it will explain some of that raisiny fruit, some of that tart red fruit too, but more about that raisiny fruit. Tempranillo, Spain, 2017 for Johnny. Nice, definitive there. That's good. Could it be 6 years old? Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable like 4 to 6. I think it's definitely 2019, 2018, 2017 perhaps. Yeah, that's where I'll go here. Greg's going to support Rioja. All right, so anybody else with a different thought that they want to put forward, just so they can plant their flag in a different region, in a different area? I think I like Rioja. I like Rioja, Tempranillo. Maybe there's a little bit of Graciano in there. Dean's going to defend his right to guess Syrah, and I think that's fair. I think that's a good guess too. I mean, certainly from the aromas that we're picking up, I think that's an appropriate one. So Syrah from France, Dean. That's a good place to be. Let's see. Rioja, French Syrah, Malbec from South America, excuse me. Let's find out. I'm going to say my final guess, 2019 Crianza level Rioja from Spain. Tempranillo based. Matt Fitzsimmons in the Syrah camp. Oh, cool. Wow, we are way off, guys. Way, way, way off. Remhukti. This is Merlot from South Africa. 100%. Highest and steepest vineyards, so it's high elevation. French oak, large French oak barrels, Foudres, so they're large, 7,000 liter, 24 months in French barrique. So the oak element is definitely prominent here. Wow. This wine has 14.5% alcohol and just wears it beautifully. It's a really cool wine. I wasn't there at all. I don't think any of us were. Wow is correct, Greg. Wow. Very, very excellent. This producer is going to be doing a wine event with us in May, I believe, coming into town, and we'll be doing a wine event, and we're going to be asking him questions about this Merlot for sure when he gets here. This is very cool. A Merlot that has experience from the New World that tastes Old World in profile. This is very cool wine. Well chosen, Julie. Thank you very much. This is neat. Johnny, you get credit for the correct year and the correct planet. I love that. You get points for everything, right? 2017, though, you definitely got that in the aged quality to it. I've never had a Merlot like this either. So the plum element, I walked right past that plum call. Maybe that was you, Greg. I'm not sure if it was. Had said plum, and plums are a definite tell for Merlot usually. So, you have to pay attention. But this is a really cool wine. 2 votes for the best Merlot ever. That's awesome. Oh, that's spectacular. I will look forward to sharing that with the producer too as they come and join us. But this wine especially with a little bit of age, it's nice to be able to try something that has a touch of the age and it has an experience of that oak. So if you key in a little bit to that, the spicy notes, that cinnamon note I called, the carbony note, that mocha coffee kind of espresso note, that's 24 months in French oak. That's where that's coming from. And so that's a way to kind of tell about oak. And then that cool red fruit that was both raisiny and a little bit of tart in the way of cranberry is coming because of high elevation. So Fran, to your question about process, no, you don't have to decant the wines, and I never do. Just by virtue of the fact that some of you might not, I will always open it just before we start, so I'm experiencing it with those of you that are doing the same. Others are sipping on this wine and enjoying it with food prior to the actual chat, and so they've decanted it and advanced the wine, and it's sometimes helpful to know that they have done that, and therefore we can kind of learn from their comments about what has evolved in the wine. Dean, the Canary Island wine from before was an interesting one for sure. I don't know about this making amends for it, but this certainly stands on its own as a really respectful and really cool wine that I just didn't see coming. So some people love the Canary wine. For Dean, I know that was a little bit of a challenge. I agree, understanding from his point of view on that one. So, wow, that's just opening up more and more. Really expressive on the nose, very cool wine, and wine that, because of that tannin expression, that acidity, could also continue to age. So if you had some more of this and you put it down, I think it would reward you with a really compelling and complex wine for not a lot of money, which is exceptional. So full oak, high elevation, special production for not a ton of money. That's a wine you're always looking for. It's kind of a unicorn-like description of wine. So I don't know if we have more, but I'm sure we can probably get some more. If you'd like some, we'll be there for you that way. Is it possible that Julie switched out the label and fooled us all for an April Fool's thing? I don't think so. Not on this one. I think this is legit. So cheers, everybody, to the Stellenbosch Merlot that turned some Merlot despisers into lovers. That's a good thing. Until next time, perhaps at Field Maine or again here on this chat next month, I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks very much.